You're listening to ABC Radio Victoria.
Yes, Warwick along with you for Drive this afternoon. It's great to have your company. Let's go to the Grampians now, where since March this year there's been a standoff in the Grampians National Park. Parks Victoria closed special protection areas of the park to climbers, saying that the booming number of rock climbers in the area has damaged ancient Indigenous rock art and quashed native plants. The unintended consequences of this meant that two operators in the area saw a downturn in business. A crisis meeting was held in Halls Gap yesterday, attended by Parks Victoria, Aboriginal Victoria and licensed tour operators, with the government open to the possibility of allowing groups to return to sites that have recently been declared off limits. So to talk about the troubles and where we stand now in the Grampians, we can speak to a local operator, Daniel Earl, who can join us now on the program. Welcome to Drive.
Hi, Warwick. Thanks for bringing up the issue.
Were you at the meeting yesterday?
I was, yeah.
And take us through it. What happened? Because this has been, I tried to highlight some of it there in the introduction, but this has been quite the standoff.
Well, this was a long-awaited meeting between the licensed tour operators and Parks Victoria to find out more about where we go from here. And it seems, we've perhaps opened up a little bit of a can of worms in recent times regarding climbing in special protection areas. And one that's in the spotlight at the moment is known as Summerday Valley, and thousands upon thousands of people, especially school students, every year are introduced to rock climbing in this area, as well as like a wealth of the general public that learn the ropes, so to speak, in this one particular area. And it is overlaid as a special protection area. It does have significance, obviously, in around that area. And the sites are still there, and Summerday Valley, for example, is a place that has been used or developed in the climbing world for 44 years, so 1975 roundabout. And the sites haven't been affected. Obviously, like if there are people around there, they could be compromised, but with 44 years of usage, those sites are still present. And we're looking forward to working this through with Parks Victoria and obviously the traditional owners that we all respect and want to make sure that we're not doing any harm or any wrongdoing. So currently, Parks Victoria.
So did the meeting resolve to open up those areas, or does that still remain off limits?
At the moment, we're still operating there. The tour operators did receive correspondence from Parks Victoria perhaps about a month ago to say that it was going to be closed that afternoon. And in discussions with Parks Victoria and for them to understand the implications of those closures so abruptly on the businesses like the licensed tour operators that use that, and all the bookings that we have for school groups that are organised months in advance, sometimes even a year in advance, that it had been reopened to licensed tour operators to conduct business until the end of the licensing permit period, which is June the 30th. So at this stage, if we were to renew a permit for 2019 to 2020, we won't be able to get a permit to rock climb in Summerday Valley at the moment, but we are awaiting some decisions, which we're hoping will come really soon. We need answers fast. There's a lot riding on this, and the sooner the better.
So it's still, I suppose, where are we now? The 5th of June, it's 25 days away from the end of the month. Does that, so you still sit in a bit of limbo to know what will happen to those areas, just before the end of the month?
That's right. We're hoping we've asked, I think sincerely to Parks Victoria, please give us some answers soon. Our customers need to know, and we're just hoping that they can do their part and work it out from their end, how they can go about, allowing rock climbing in this particular area. There are some implications that were set up by the management plan back in 2003 that stated that the only visitor use in recreation areas that are special protection areas would be that of bushwalking and picnicking, and obviously it was not well thought out back then, and it's come to the surface now, and they have had to act upon that, and now they're looking at working this out in a more logical manner and coming up with a new management plan in the next year, which will define the usage in those particular areas. And we really need to, work with the traditional owners as well for
Well, the areas were closed because of damage to areas that were significant to the Indigenous population.
Well, that was stated, but that nothing. I'm unaware of any damage that rock climbers have had, and there was a particular site that had been spoken about regarding not damage, Warwick, but where perhaps rock climbers were a little bit too close, and that it was not. And look, a lot of climbers would have regard that instance as something that we, as climbers, wouldn't typically do. And we also found out that that particular instance, it was unknown to the person that was rock climbing in that area that there was any art there. So part of this whole storyboard is also for us to work with Parks Victoria and perhaps the traditional owners, and to understand where we can go and where the possible compromises to art sites might be, because rock climbers are a pretty respectful bunch of people. They look after the park. They're very much mindful of their impact and to do the right thing. And that's not just in Australia, but that's all over the world.
Do you want it reopened for tour operators or rock climbers in general, or both?
Look, obviously I'm a tour operator, and I really would like to not compromise my livelihood and the livelihood of the people that I employ. And there's a lot of there's a spin-off to the economy and the tourism sort of in Halls Gap area. But also,
how many jobs are on the line, do you think?
Oh, look, just locally, there's easily close to 50 guides in the area. And look, some businesses use that site, might be 80% of the time. Some use it 10% of the time. Some use it 30 or 40% of the time. The fact is that the Summerday Valley site gives the experience to thousands upon thousands of people, and mainly school students per year, and the benefits of that are huge for these people. And that obviously we're not doing, damage hasn't been done, and it is a place that has been looked after by Parks Victoria for rock climbing for its purpose, so that other places in the park aren't with so much impact. And so it's had like what we call like a hardening. And so there's very minimal sort of impact in that environment nowadays. And it's important that that we keep using it, because if we have to go in other places of the park, there's going to be huge amounts of impact in those other places.
Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon on Drive. It's been good to talk to you. I suppose then, from your point of view, the meeting was good, but there's still a lot unanswered from the meeting so far.
That's right. Hopefully, Warwick, we might speak again, and after another chat with Parks Victoria, hopefully we'll have some good news.
Brilliant. Daniel, it's been great to talk to you. Thanks for coming on the program.
Thanks, Warwick.
Daniel Earl, a tourism operator in the Grampians region, who was part of that meeting as part of the meeting with Parks Victoria, looking at the future of the Grampians. Mike Tomkins can join us as well from the Australian Climbing Association, and we can get the view from climbers, not just tour operators. We also had a request in from Parks Victoria, I should say, and in a statement they sent us, it doesn't say a lot really. It says the meeting was to discuss tourism opportunities in the Grampians. It was a positive and constructive meeting. We will continue to communicate and collaborate with traditional owners and stakeholders as we move forward in developing the Grampians National Park Management Plan. That's all we've got from Parks Victoria. Mike Tomkins can join us, though, for the Climbers' Perspective. Welcome to Drive.
Good afternoon, Warwick. How are you?
So where do things stand from your point of view? This meeting occurred yesterday. Were you there? Do you hope climbing reopens for parts of the Grampians?
I was not there, Warwick, but we did have several representatives of my organisation there, the Australian Climbing Association Victoria, and there was some welcome progress at the meeting, but there are great concerns over the timelines here because the licensed tour operators have only got 4 weeks left of their licence, and their bookings go 6 months and more into the future. So they're losing business, losing money, and obviously there's certain legal issues over that.
And what do you think about the whole closing issue in general? Do you think it's been handled correctly by Parks Victoria?
There have been acknowledged problems in that area for the whole of Garryward. We actually have the world's largest rock climbing band. By a long, long way. Nothing has been seen like this anywhere in the world. It's quite common for rock climbing areas to be managed in conjunction with the rock climbers. And the rock climbers have not had an opportunity to do that as yet. And that's what we're hoping will change very soon.
Well, the tour operators want it fixed by the end of the next month. Where do you stand? What do you want out of this?
It's a much longer-term solution for the wider park. It's 570 square kilometres of park that's restricted at the moment. And to put that in perspective, the number of visits is of the same order as a 4 square kilometre park in Texas. And they manage that quite well for rock climbing with all the same drivers. So we've got a huge area to disperse into, but we just need to manage the use of this park appropriately in terms of cultural heritage and the environment. And we have been sitting down with the Minister for the Environment's office today, in fact, a meeting we've been asking for a long time to discuss these issues.
What came out of that?
It was a preliminary meeting. Minister D'Ambrosio wasn't at the meeting, and we hope to have a meeting with Lily D'Ambrosio very soon, along with the Minister for Tourism and the Minister for Aboriginal Affairs, because we really need to discuss the future for rock climbing in Garryward in a way that's done all around the world, using world's best practice and management techniques.
What about the accusation we heard just before from Daniel Earl about where he stands on the thought that climbers were damaging those areas of the park, so they had to be closed? Where do you stand? Do climbers need to take some responsibility for this situation? Yes,
they do. I think Daniel answered it very well. Rock climbers and all users have an impact, and understanding that impact and controlling that in an appropriate way is something we very much want to work on. There have been a few instances where rock climbing and cultural areas have been clashes, but by necessity those areas have to be kept secret. And it's something that is very difficult to manage because you can't keep away from things when you don't know the full story. And at the moment, Warwick, what we've got is a reputation of rock climbers as at rock bottom because of media things that have occurred. Climbers are not being welcomed back into that environment to be part of the solution, and that's what we'd like to change with the help of the Minister.
Is that on you to change that, or the media to change that? The
media
of climbers?
The media can certainly help in getting the facts out, and that's what I'm interested in doing, because there's been a media cycle that's been quite damaging for all parties. And I think we need to start to come together to resolve that. And we need the assistance of Parks Victoria to repair the reputation of rock climbers.
Mike Tomkins, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
He's from the Australian Climbing Association of Victoria, and also we put a request in to the Barrengadgin Land Council as well, but we haven't heard back. We're going to talk federal politics next.